Last year, my sister Emily and I rented a small, secluded beachfront cabin on the Oregon coast for a quiet weekend getaway. The place was fairly isolated, accessible only by a long dirt road cutting through a dense line of pine trees. The trade-off was a stunning, uninterrupted view of the ocean and absolute silence. On our first night, around 9 p.m., we decided to take a walk along the shoreline. It was pitch black out, illuminated only by dim moonlight and the white crests of crashing waves. As we were walking on the damp sand, I noticed a man walking a dog about 100 yards behind us. Thinking it was just another tourist from a neighboring rental, I didn't pay much attention. We eventually found a large piece of dry driftwood and sat down to rest. A few minutes later, the man walked past us. Emily instinctively nodded to say hello, but he didn't react at all. He just kept trudging forward. The weirdest part was the dog. It didn't bark, sniff around, or explore like normal dogs do at the beach. It just moved stiffly, pressed unnaturally close to his heel. But we brushed it off, sat in the sea breeze for a bit longer, and headed back to our cabin. Around 2 a.m., I jolted awake to a faint scratching sound coming from the front door. It was a harsh, rhythmic friction, like claws lightly scraping against wood. Emily, in the bed next to mine, woke up too. We exchanged a look, and I whispered that the dog from earlier must have gotten loose and wandered onto our porch. I tiptoed to the window next to the front door and gently pulled back the edge of the curtain, just enough to peek through the glass. Under the dim, yellow porch light, the sight made my blood run cold. There was no dog. It was the man from the beach. He was down on all fours on the wooden deck, his face pressed entirely flat against the narrow gap beneath the door. His bare hands were rhythmically and slowly dragging across the wood, creating that scratching sound. There was no anger or rush in his movement. His head was tilted sideways, his ear pressed right against the crack, as if he was deeply entranced, listening to the rhythm of our breathing inside. I froze, let the curtain drop silently, and with trembling hands, called 911. By the time the sheriff's deputies arrived, sweeping the property with flashlights, the man had vanished into the pitch-black tree line. He left nothing behind except faint scratch marks on the bottom of the door. We packed up and left at first light, but the detail that still haunts me the most isn't his face pressed against the floorboards. It was the sudden realization I had on the drive home. That night on the beach, the dog walking beside him hadn't left a single paw print in the wet sand. It was never real.